Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first web series by BSL and AEPC on digitalization and automation, the head turners, transformation to the new era. This session is going to be most exciting because we try to bring in speakers from very different perspective, one from manufacturing, the other from the digital product creation, the other from brand in itself. The show is going to be very simple. We're going to talk to each one of them individually, understanding what they have done better in automation and digitalization, and what is the steps that we need to take to move towards automation and digitalization. Right, I'll wait for AV to play and then we will start the show. All right, that was an amazing video. Thanks to the team who has put it together. That includes everything from manufacturing to digital product creation. Really, to establish a sustainable and circular textile industry, the industry should understand and capitalize on all the possibilities of digitalization to save cost and resources. We're currently witnessing how digitalization is changing the textile industry, right from manufacturing, the product creation, the websites, the logistics, and many more. And digitalization brings new business models into the approach right now. So I mean, like there are certain advantages, right? So digitalization is equated to sustainability, and it gives us speed to market. It's cost efficient. It is able to give us a great inventory and buying decisions. And finally, it allows us to give a right product to the consumer. So the first speaker on board today is Suchira. Yeah. So can I have focus on Suchira, please? Hey, hi, Suchira. Welcome to the web series. Really glad to connect with you on this forum. To just give you an introduction about Suchira, Suchira's full name is Suchira Surendranath. He's a director of our biggest manufacturing setup in India. The company name is Brandix. He's an industry professional with over 2 decades of management experience spanning multiple industries and geographies. He has worked in multiple countries like UK, Hong Kong, and Sri Lanka. He holds an MBA from the University of Wales and celebrated an academic record with multiple degrees spanning engineering, law, IT, management, accounting, along with many other streams. He has held leadership position in IT, marketing, finance across FMCG and textile centers. And currently, he holds the position of Director, Strategy and Investment at Brandix. What an amazing profile, Suchira, and a very long list of degree. I'm sorry, I'm not able to read out everything, but welcome on show. And yeah, few words to the audience.
Thanks for the introduction, Kiruba. So yes, we have a global operation at Brandix. We manufacture across 5 different countries, and we have design centers and front-end operations in UK, US, and Hong Kong as well. But India is one of our largest manufacturing locations. So we have a 1,000-acre apparel park in Visakhapatnam, which is an integrated end-to-end textile and apparel setup, where we have everything from apparel to fabric to labels to elastics set up in this park itself, which enables us to deliver speed and agility to our customers. So we have 22,000 people working for us in the park itself right now. It's the single largest employer of women in one location, as we know in India. So it's a sizable operation, and happy to be taking part of the session today.
Great, Suchira. With all the new jargons in the industry, so the new jargon that is coming in picture is dark factory. So dark factory, is the apparel industry ready for this? And how soon you think that that would hit in India and would be fully operational?
A true dark factory may still be a few years away from us, but we are getting closer and closer to the concept each day. Outside India, we have sew-free, seamless knitting facilities that have much less human intervention by a magnitude than a traditional apparel factory with thousands of operators. We have factories using digitization and automation, practicing many concepts of Factory 4.0 that can generate the same output with about half the workforce needed by a traditional factory. So we are getting there. We are rolling out these concepts gradually across our footprint. But as you'd expect, many of this is partly driven by necessity. Naturally, locations with high and rapidly increasing labor costs will be prioritized due to the high return on the investment, due to the higher savings. We have seen that happen first in the Western world and then in the Far East. And the time for South Asia, I believe, is now approaching. We have already introduced most of these in some of our overseas locations, and gradually we will be rolling out some in India now. So it's coming soon.
Sure. So should I safely say that we are partially a dark factory in Brandix right now?
Not quite yet. So
All
to be
right.
a true dark factory, you should be able to switch off your air conditioning and and lights. We are not there yet. We still have a lot of human intervention.
Sure.
We'll discuss as we go along what's needed to get into that true concept of a dark factory as we move forward in the industry.
All right. Amazing. So what are the 3 or multiple easy automation steps that a factory can take to call that the factory is automated, or how do we improve efficiency? What are the simple steps that we need to take?
The key to me is not to wait for the final version of a dark factory to appear right next door to you before you make a move. So there are many mundane improvements which can yield a very high return on a very small investment when it comes to digitization and automation. We look at each operation, each movement made by our associates on a daily basis to understand how it can be made easier and more efficient. Starting with folder attachments to auto trimmers to laser guides, one can introduce so many inexpensive improvements that can de-skill an operation and increase productivity. Though single such addition sounds and looks insignificant, when you apply it to a factory with 1,000 machines, it will bring marked improvements as well as a lot of job satisfaction for your workforce. Next stage is to look for newer or improved machinery with part or full automation. Things like attaching waistbands, placket setting, 5-pocket attachments can have, I mean, they have already been automated for a long time. And once this is done, you can get a single operator to run multiple machines in a more agile and flexible manufacturing environment. It de-skills the operation, and with that, it upskills the operator, enhancing his or her value addition. So that's another stage which we naturally move into. Outside sewing, obviously there are many other areas of automation with auto cutters, spreaders, AI-based fabric inspection machines that can further enhance productivity of the overall operation. A smart factory can also be a stage in this evolution. So that will naturally be the next step, I would say. Now that you have eliminated those operations that can be automated, you have an agile workforce, and further improvements may not be so easy to spot on visual inspection now. A smart factory where real-time data is obtained from each station can help heuristic or AI-based analysis where hidden issues can now be uncovered and solved. We have done this with great success. There is an investment required, but it's well worth it. So all this will improve productivity and reduce manpower requirements. Like we discussed, a true dark factory will require the involvement of the brands as well to design for manufacture, developing software products, silhouettes that can easily be automated, and still cater to the evolving needs of the end consumer. So it will be a collective effort that then takes it all into a dark factory concept.
I know that's a brilliant ask from the brand and everybody over there. So, I mean, like to really summarize it, so it's basically you understand the movement of the labor inside and see where the efficiency can be improved, that can be automated, right? So coming to the next discussion point, so what is blockchain and how does this help in manufacturing efficiency? I know it's a very large topic to really cover in like few couple of sentences, but an attempt to do that.
Blockchain, I assume the younger audience of ours will be able to better describe. It's a decentralized digital ledger, as we know, that can record transactions through the life cycle of a product in a way that can't be altered or manipulated easily. We mostly understand it in the form of cryptocurrencies, but it has many more useful applications in apparel. So I have to admit that we have been a little slow to adopt it. Traceability and supply chain integration is one of the obvious benefits blockchain brings us. The ability to trace a product that you buy all the way back to its origins, understand where the cotton came from, the chemicals, the countries and factories it went through, labor conditions, how the value was distributed, can all lead to solutions that matter to the consumers in terms of transparency, sustainability, and their buying decision. One can use it further down the value chain to track the product as it gets recycled and gets into a circular economy as well. How blockchain can help us in improving manufacturing efficiency over and above what a smart factory already does is something we are still exploring. But we can foresee how it can lead to supply chain efficiencies in its ability to identify steps in the supply chain as the product goes through the value chain, the amount of time it spends at each stage, the value added, and so forth, leading to potential identification of trapped value that can be released back into the economy. Again, implementation of a meaningful customer-facing blockchain solution requires various players across the industry to work together to make it happen. There's a collective investment needed. It requires the brands to identify how much of a premium consumers are willing to pay for such a solution so that it can compensate for that investment. It requires some work to be done, and because of that reason, we haven't seen wide-scale adoption of wide-scale use of such solutions, except for probably in the luxury goods market. So I'm excited to with the opportunity. So hopefully we'll see something working at mass production level soon.
Great. That's well put about blockchain. Far-fetched right now, but I think digitalizing all the ledgers is the easiest thing that you can do, right? I know, I mean, like Brandex do a lot of stuff in terms of consumer service. How do you think automation helped you to reach consumers' doorstep? I don't mean your buyer, I mean the end consumer. So what do you do there?
The demand is definitely there. So online sales as a category were outspacing store sales even before COVID. And it has become much more prevalent now. With it, there has been an increasing interest on on-demand ordering from customers, vendor-managed inventory, doorstep deliveries, like you mentioned. It's possible. We've tried it at small scale as well. It requires close integration between the systems run by the brands and those of the vendors. And it has to be all the way down from the customer to the apparel factory to the mills, as it has implications on grade and yarn booking as well. Inventory holding will move upstream to the vendors, and that can be compensated accordingly with the savings coming from not only reduced inventory levels at store, but also reduced cost of markdowns. So transparency, visibility, and integration are the key to getting it done. And if and when implemented, it can open the door for brand new solutions for the customer as well, like mass customizations. So it's something that's definitely possible, and digitization and digital solutions as it stands can enable it. The technology is already there. It's a matter of the industry coming together, getting together and saying, okay, this is what we want. We want to be truly a virtual supply chain and get it done.
I know how amazing it would be just calling manufacturer a partner in the brand, supplying it completely. Amazing. The last question, I'm just going to wrap up in a minute because I think we have other speakers. So how do you manage your lead times? And I heard stories about Brandex handling the lead time in very, very short duration. Just in time is the important thing for Brandix. So if you can just take a few seconds to explain what you do and how do you do, that would be amazing.
So in India, we have speed solutions that run as fast as 9 days from order to delivery, delivery at store in US. So how we've been able to achieve that is through supply chain integration. So all the vendors of the products that we need speed on inside our park, BIAC, Brandix India Apparel City, and so the mill, the labels, packaging, everything is there, and because of that, we can very quickly, as an order comes, very quickly coordinate and get the material into the factory within a couple of days, and then do the sewing, and then if we airlift it, we can actually achieve solutions that are as fast as 9 days from order to delivery. So regularly we do 14 days replenishment for common styles. So that's quite possible. Our secret was supply chain integration, and it takes some time for the suppliers to understand each other and work together. And I might add that that's something that India as a nation can actually get together and deliver for the rest of the world as well. So it's a great opportunity that we have to bring all our suppliers, all the vendors together to actually truly deliver that solution as a country. And that's quite possible. And we are also working with our suppliers to get there for a wide range of products than what we right now deliver from the park.
I know. That's exactly what's happening in India. Also, we have PM Mitra happening, which is everybody close to a system, so that it really helps us to quickly churn things. Thank you so much, Suchira, for giving the insights on digitalization and automation. Means a lot. We'll wait for the Q&A a little later. So thank you so much for now. Yeah. So can I have the next focus on Yoram? I'm just going to give a small introduction about Yoram. Can I have focus on Yoram, please? Hey, hi, Yoram. Let me introduce you to the veteran, Mr. Yoram, in digitalization and automation. I think the company that we use today has been marketed by him across the globe. So Yoram Berg, he's a chief commercial officer with over 30 years of entrepreneurial experience that spanned across Asia, Middle East, North America. He brings with him an experience in multiple aspects of managing the various functions at multi-million-dollar organization, applying experience gained in information technology, purchasing, business planning, project, and change management, to leading international teams in high-level strategic sales, marketing, and implementations. While holding various senior positions in technology and non-technology businesses, prior to joining SETI, Yoram served as a VP of Sales of Embody Corporation, and before that, he was a president of NA, India, and Sri Lanka under Optitex and EFI. He is a graduate of MEI program from Swinburne University of Technology, Australia. Welcome on show, Mr. Yoram. We're waiting to hear from you on how you really made digitalization. I think we would have just heard the word digitalization in the last decade, but I'm happy that you've been into this system for last 3 decades. So yeah, here we jump into the question. Few words to the audience, please.
Yes. First thing, thank you for having me. Happy to be here. And interestingly enough, you opened this session with a video that was focusing quite a bit around 3D, and for the right reasons, because I think that that's an important element. I work for a company called SETI. SETI in its core is a research company. For about 5 or 6 years, the company was and still is funded by the government of Spain, the European Commission, and other organizations, just for the purpose of conducting research of translating anything and everything that has to do with the physical aspect, such as yarn, simulation or yarn in its real life form onto a visualized yarn, and onwards from there into the use cases within our industry. So capturing the yarn for the purpose of creating digital materials, capturing the yarn for the purpose of doing 3D simulation, and ultimately also to consumer-facing solutions such as a virtual try-on. So pretty cool company to work for. A lot of PhDs in our research and development area that fuel this research for the last so many years. More than happy to talk about it later more.
Amazing, amazing. So, I mean, like, you've been into DPC, which is digital product creation, for a long time. And I know this is a very basic question, but this is very important for the audience to know. So what's the pros to move on to a DPC? Why should I move on to a DPC? What is the advantage that a manufacturer or a brand would get from DPC?
Yeah, always a good question. I've been doing 3D for just about 20 years now, actually, almost exactly to the month. And I've seen it coming along, you know, from a point where it was just a bootstrap kind of activity, you know. Some of us may remember the emergence of this technology. At that time, it was received with, I would say, an equal amount of skepticism and curiosity. It was pretty clunky, okay, rather basic, you know, but it did capture the hearts of a few trailblazers who bootstrapped their organizations, you know, through the belief that the technology will one day change the way we work. And years later, and while no official data exists, I have to say, the belief is that just about 10 or more, or just about 10 to 15% of the fashion industry are actively using the 3D technology in the digital product creation process. The figure of those who purchase probably is higher, but you know, most of the rest of the numbers have actually not deployed the technology to the level that we thought. Now, the pros are just amazing, and they're out there. Communication and time saving as a consequence, right? When you communicate visually, you eliminate the chances for mistakes, the faster decision making, not just within the design, but also elsewhere, when you leverage the content onwards into other endpoints of the organization, such as e-commerce and so on, and you trust these images to be able to sell through e-commerce, which is another topic of discussion, and it serves its purpose. One version of the truth when you think about it. So less interpretation of a design intent, you know, back to the days of sending a block can be developed by the brand to the manufacturer, can be interpreted in multiple ways. And we've heard and know about the stories of not hitting the design intent or the block being developed accordingly. A reduction in sourcing of physical fabrics for the purpose of doing samples. We all know how much materials we consume right now just for the purpose of creating samples. I think that's one of the biggest areas of value here. Shipping costs, definitely an area of concern, especially at the time when, you know, COVID shut down the world in so many locations. 3D was thriving. Ultimately, everyone is saying, I want to reduce the number of physical samples. That's a goal to be had. The reduction in overall number of hands who are involved in the process. We just talked about our factory, right? Less human touching and more machines doing things. It's kind of where we can benefit with this technology as well. So less mistakes in that sense. And of course, I think for me, above everything else is sustainability and the environment.
Great, great. Who would not love to have a sample quickly made on a digital forum, not spend so much on a physical sample? Amazing. I think that is well said. Well, I mean, like, I always hear challenges from the brand or a manufacturer that the DPC currently is slightly broken. You may correct me if I'm wrong. You know, it's simple like that, right? So one person gives a 3D and the other person gives a pattern, and the other physical properties are identified by a different platform. To really bring in all the channels together, or all the partners together, is slightly difficult. And the integration also between the vertical, firstly, the user have to get used to the system, and then we have to integrate the multiple parts of it. So what's the view, and how is it going to be changing in the near future?
Yeah, how it's going to change is up to us as vendor providers. But I think that understanding the path to the solution, we first have to understand where the problem is. And I just don't think 3D is going away anytime, anywhere it's just going to become a lot better. But let's figure out like where the problem is. And most recently, I think it was the tail end of 2022, I was at the auto conference in Detroit, and I was asked to speak and compare between, you know, what are the reasons that 3D has been so well accepted in the automotive, aerospace, architecture industry, and it is kind of like like you describe it, disjointed and slow and difficult to adopt in the apparel industry, although some companies are doing pretty well with it. So some of the points that I brought up in my presentation back then was materials. Of course, we're speaking about two different industries. Apparel industry has soft materials, something that happens less or not existing in the other industries. We're looking at things like roles and titles, things that exist beautifully in the worlds of architecture, automotive, and others, such as R&D manager. I mean, when I used to go in and pitch companies on adopting 3D, they used to say, well, speak to the IT, but it's not exactly an IT solution. And then they say, oh, speak to the pattern maker, but it's not also exactly a pattern making solution. It kind of requires a role of research and development, someone who looks into the well-being of technology within the organization. So we need to develop those roles and the titles and the people who own such processes. And, you know, we start to see white spaces, innovation spaces, and so on and so forth. I also think that, you know, education industry. So while in the other industries, it's mandatory to go through such training, in our industry, it's still optional, okay? And it's still not carefully or nicely formulated to a point that you have a program that delivers a ready-made 3D artist to the market, you know, and it's very hard to come by and find these individuals to begin with. More than anything, I think the other industries have an ecosystem that was developed around this, the need for 3D. So from surface design to PLM integration, it's all done digitally in the other industries, offering interoperability between systems, something that, again, does not exist in our industry. So we have solution done from one provider to another provider and so on, and they just don't talk to one another. I mean, it's like saying that in order to read a PDF file, I'll need to buy a Mac computer, a PC computer, a Chrome computer, and so on, just so I can read that file. Well, guess what? It doesn't happen in real life, should not happen to us here as well. Another big thing that happens in other industries is direct link to production, okay, which we still don't have. I mean, most of us who have been working with 3D will probably be able to say, I have one pattern for design and production. I have one pattern for my 3D visualization. It's not an engineered-based translation between the two. And then the culture to support the effort. So all these things are really some of the areas that we see the differences between the industries. And as far as the challenges, wow, there are a number of them. It's a siloed operation right now. It's confined to a location, a person, a set of equipment. There is a cost for hardware, cost for software. The supporting solution are kind of separate from the main streamline or the mainstream of what the solution is, such as, imagine, fabric testing equipment, right? It's a slow process. It requires machinery. So again, we go manual for something that's supposed to be digital. Additional rendering, for example, lack of process automation. There is so little AI in this business and machine learning that it just begs the question, when is that coming? Training that can take months for a single individual, and then what happens when the person leaves you, right? The overall speed of operation is kind of on the slow side. There is IT people that are involved in the process, cost of, and then it adds on and on and on. But the bottom line of all of this, as far as to your question where it's headed, should we abandon the process? Absolutely no. Absolutely no. There are multiple things that we can do to increase the adoption all around, while we understand the limitations and operating within those, just like Suchira said just a few minutes ago. Let's not wait for the final solution to be there, because it probably will never be at that stage. There will never be an end for a solution, especially when we talk about artificial intelligence that keeps reinventing itself and learning every single day, right? Ask me if there's a last version for AI. There isn't, and probably there will never be one. So what we can do, we can create a culture for adoption. Number one thing, I think, within the organization. We heard that on the discussion about the dark factory. We heard it on the turnaround times for Suchira's companies, 9 to 14 days. Wow, that's just to be commended. A culture within the supply chain partners to bring them all together. So I know in India there were some initiations of knowledge management centers, technology management centers, also acronymed as KMC and TMC, developing non-existent roles, as I mentioned before, such as R&D managers, engineers of sorts, and so on. We got to think online, right, as we go for solutions 4.0 and more and beyond in terms of the delivery. Can we still work with on-prem? Yes, we can. Should we? Probably not. We need to trust what we're doing, especially with this technology, and leverage what's available right now. We need to go for any solution that is all about de-skilling. We heard it from Suchira as well. Anything that is de-skilling and promoting teamwork, right? That brings the product a lot quicker. And finally, I would say, think collaboration and leverage new technologies. I think I just mentioned manual way of capturing a material so we can use it in 3D. How about using artificial intelligence for that, right? It works for you instead of you working for the technology. So a long-winded answer for
absolutely. And I mean, like, at least when I go through the profile of SETI, it covers the entire the portfolio, right? The portfolio is about physical properties. How do you do what 3D? How do you do a DPC? And how do you put it on an avatar? What kind of a stitching? I mean, like, it's amazing. I think the entire ecosystem should come together so that it's easy for the user. Of course, the technology is for user and it has to be as easy as possible, right? Yeah. Coming to the Industry 4.0, how does a human intervention can be reduced because of DPC? I mean, like, if I have to touch a fabric and tell this is what a single jersey, this is what is interlock, this could be the GSM, this could be the weight of the garment in oven, and this could be the compression. So what do you think that the digitalization or automation can help reduce the intervention?
Yeah. Great point. I think much like the changes we saw through the years in how production became more automated, you know, shifting from manual cutting to automatic cutting. We went from table pattern making to digital pattern making, and so we got to think in terms of steps to get there rather than conquering the target. Taking those small steps changes how human intervene in the digital product creation process, not eliminate, but change it, right? Make it a lot more smarter for the individual and also for the process. So I just mentioned before, you know, something that my company is currently doing and basing all our technology on. Number one is web deployment, right? I mean, we don't need to buy a $3,000 computer just so I can do a $20 piece of garment, right? But I should be able to use it anywhere, any place, anytime on a simple set of equipment. I have to able to rely on artificial intelligence because our business is relying on quantities, right? I mean, for the most part in mass production and so on, you rely on quantities. And we cannot just do it by a human start to finish. We have to rely on technologies, machine learning, artificial intelligence. So to capture a fabric, for example, for their digital twin, I don't have to go through a process that takes me 2 hours, doing the maps in one place, doing the physical capturing on another piece of device. And before you know it, the end of the day has arrived and I haven't reached my daily delivery goal. We can start see some first attempt in automation 3D creation, such as parametric blocks. You know, some vendors are actually bringing some early stages of solutions that automate things. So that's a good place in where we're headed. Moving 3D online to take advantage of collaboration and co-creation from initial design, if you will, all the way to consumer acquisition or customer acquisition. I think that's an area that is much to be desired because all the solutions that we have right now are on-prem, which means if you want to achieve some sort of collaboration, you have to create other means to do so. And that's like, again, imagine I'm always like to borrow analogies, having an iPhone, one for emails, one for text messages, and one for surfing online. It doesn't make much sense. We have to be able to bring them all together and collaborate. We also need to see some pipelines for automation, you know, in post-processing, such as moving assets to the cloud, if those are not there yet. As I just mentioned, I hope that, you know, everyone is considering heading in that direction. Operate at the back end of the processing. So, for example, like advanced rendering, right? I mean, right now that pipeline is very slow and doesn't allow for scale, all right? So if you bring it online, and we have server farms and 3D rendering farms and all that stuff that already exists out there, we can leverage those and let the operator still do other things. I know it may sound like a wish or a dream, but operating most, if not all of the above that I mentioned, digital material capturing, 3D solutions, and so on, right from within PLM. Okay. PLM for many companies is the source of truth. Now, how great it is if you can give designers a view for what they're working on, and much like you give the merchandising people and everyone else upstream the ability to interact, work with the content all the way through PLM to gain visibility, accessibility, use cases outside of product development, such as in e-commerce and onwards to, for example, the consumer-facing part of the business. So all of a sudden, we can see that, you know, the value proposition is about to become a lot more compelling for brands and their suppliers, just than doing 3D for the purpose of doing a faster physical sample. Much less human intervention, but maintaining human interaction. Okay, so we're moving out of intervention into interaction because humans can do things that machines cannot. As far as the field, you know, to touch something and so on and so forth, it's very interesting, because to date, the 3D technology has been all about almost there, but never there kind of results. You know, it's like I'm going to send my car to the garage and the mechanic will say, well, I almost fixed your car, but I haven't exactly fixed your car. I mean, we don't accept almost there, but never there. Why do we accept it in the world of 3D? We should not. As example, stitches. Okay, stitches has been a big challenge for 3D. Okay, some companies that are heavy on stitching, such as Lululemon, and I've seen such garments coming out where the stitch inside doesn't look like the stitch outside, baked textures, so on and so forth. Yarn simulation, as I mentioned before, and those things don't exist. Okay, but that's not how the real world works. So how do we bring them all together? I think there is really ability. For example, if you think about 3D again, seam allowance is not exactly the way you do 3D. Well, technologies are coming around right now doing it from the seam allowance. So let's think evolution rather than revolution. The past 20 years has come a long way. I feel the next 5 is probably going to equal what happened in the last 10. So a lot to look for. And quickly we can move on from there. Think about artificial intelligence, machine learning. We leveraging those now more in other areas of our life. We need to. I can speak from experience to what our company has been researching, you know, in this space for the past 6 years or so, with some 14 PhDs just focused on that, some 50 academic papers we already published in that sense, and multiple patents that we own on the technology. So it's a different way in how we think about bringing these technologies. And my final note, and that's hopefully where I'm going to pass it on to the next speaker, is where India can benefit from this. And I think that, you know, India has been amazing in the journey that I've taken working in the Indian market for the last 10 years or so, visiting dozens of times, walking into so many factories and seeing operations and processes. So much have changed, and so much have changed for the better. I so echo what Suchira was saying before. I think that, you know, India has an opportunity, an amazing opportunity to shift from following to leading, in the sense of, don't think that your buyers know exactly what they're doing when it comes to digital product creation. A lot of them are still exploring and experimenting and shifting from one solution to another. But it's not about shifting from one to another. It's about having the best of breed. That's where you, as manufacturers, sourcing managers, and so on, can come in and lead. And I think that many times what I've seen is that's what they expect you to do. Okay, lead by example, lead by change, initiate those ideas, drive that innovation, and offer them better ways to do things. Sometimes they come and say, we decided to go with solution A, solution B, but you know, we don't have a house that's controlled by one vendor. Why should we have a business that's controlled by one? Have the best of breed, drive that innovation to your buyers, lead by examples, they will follow.
Amazing, amazing, Yoram. Intervention to interaction, following to leading. That's really an amazing speech today, and thank you so much for all your insights. And I hope, and we're all ready. India is ready for the change. And thank you so much. Until the Q&A session, thank you for now. Yeah. Moving on to the next speaker, Mr. Mohit Mathur. Can I have the focus on Mohit? And I'm going to explain a very, very few amazing insights about Mohit. Mohit is currently a Chief Sourcing Officer at Ace Turtle. We all know Ace Turtle is someone who is sourcing with technology. He has more than 2 decades of experience, and he is experienced in fashion, retail, export, and name the brands that are there. And internationally, I think he has really worked on a dream company like Landmark, Mothercare, Gap, H&M, Children's Place. What an amazing experience you have here, Mathur. Great to have you here, Mohit. And few words to the audience before we jump into the discussion.
Sure, Kirba, thanks for that super exciting introduction. But it's really good to be part of this forum today. I actually come from an era where I started work where communication was through telex machines. And for the youngsters who are on this group, you can Google what actually a telex machine is. I won't go into that, but it is absolutely an incredible journey that the industry and what India has achieved. And then today it's being part of a forum that talks about digitalization automation is a great feeling. So I work for an organization called Ace Turtle. We are a tech native retail company that is spearheading the transformation from a retail industry perspective. Our intent is that we wish to build a tech mindset in everything that we do. So right from anything to do with our consumer experience to our store activities and then integrating them back right down to our supply chains. That's the whole idea, that we run an asset-light model that is based on tech intervention and ensuring that the manual errors are minimized and you have as much of data telling you to take the right decisions. We are proud to be associated with iconic brands like Lee, Wrangler, Toys R Us, and Babies R Us, where we're making sure that we set the stones for a successful journey on retail right through tech transformation. So very happy to be here, Kiruba. Thanks for that.
Thank you so much. What a nice thing is like you deal with Toys R Us and a highly fashionable brands, very different game together. You really can't apply the same formula to both the businesses. Very nice, I'm sure. We'll hear from you as how do you handle it. So we have a biggest buying and sourcing fraternity here. And what do you think digitalization in sourcing means? What are the pros and what are the difficulties that we would undergo if we need to go on a complete digitalization for sourcing?
That's a pretty expansive topic, but I'll start first with why we need to do this. Yeah. So everyone knows, and I'm glad that you said that a number of people on this call are from the sourcing fraternity. Our primary task is to put it simply is get the right product with the right quality at the right price and at the right time to be delivered to the warehouse and the stores. Now, how do you go about doing that? So a large part of sourcing is to make sure that your organizational skills are absolutely perfect. Your mapping to your suppliers is absolutely on track to deliver the right product. That you're sourcing your components for manufacturing from the right sources that deliver the right quality and the right pricing. But most importantly also is that you've got to make sure that you're able to forecast whether your product is going to deliver on time or not, because that has a large impact on the sell-through of a product. And we all know how everyday sales can impact on the longevity of a product. You're living in a world of markdowns, so every single minute counts. Now, when you're sitting in a world where everything is fast-paced, data is an integral part of taking your decision. How do you go about making sure that that data is coming in into a meaningful way? And that's how the transformation through digitalization and automation comes through. And for sourcing especially, I would propose that there are three things to be taken into consideration. One is, of course, the platform that you're using to digitize your operations. Now, there are several in the industry, I won't name them, but there are several successful models that are operating. So that's one piece, at getting your platform right. The second part, of course, is then what do you intend to get out of it? A number of times what happens is data is presented, but you're not able to analyze it. So you've got to set in place a workflow, a process flow, and an outcome flow. How is it that you wish to read that data in order for you to take steps that will help you prevent being reactive and head you more towards the proactive stage, so that you're able to forecast whether your product is going to land on time or not. And then, of course, the last part in terms of getting a solution in place for digitalization automation is, and I think my fellow speakers mentioned this as well, is the culture of the people who are going to do it. Yeah. So it's a critical piece in building a culture in the organization. And this is not just internal organization, even externally. We've got to build in that thought process and do it with such an emphasis because this is the future. Yeah. Unless and until we adopt this into our mindset to say, okay, this is the way how my decision-making process is going to take place on different aspects, not just on sourcing. I mean, sourcing is one part, of course, but across the whole chain, right from manufacturing, going right up to retail and selling, everything has to be thought with the thought process that how is it that data can be integrated, how tech can be integrated to make sure that the right things are being done from a consumer perspective as well. Yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah. Sorry.
Great, great. It's such an insight, right? Be reactive, be proactive rather than being reactive. And I'm sure OTIF is the biggest thing that all of us really work on day in, day out. I'm sure digitalization is going to help that. What is your idea, or what is your viewpoints on handling the inventory management, or how does a digitalization help in really keeping that OTIF better? I mean, like what are the pros basically for the DNA?
So I'll tell you first from an inventory perspective, inventory can make or break you. I'm sure everybody recognizes that. Yeah. So while I'm a little biased because I come from a sourcing background and I'd love to work with, volumes that are really large and easier to manage. The fact of the matter is that today's world, the consumer wants width and therefore the depths are shrinking. Now, when depths are shrinking, you obviously have to have a very keen eye on understanding how is it that your inventory is being managed. And rather than sourcing being just a input point to say, okay, here's an order, now convert it, we've got to start thinking to say, listen, how is it that we integrate our daily sales? So I absolutely resonate with what Suchita mentioned, the solutions around vendor managed inventory, on-demand, manufacturing is something that can happen only if brands are connecting their everyday, every hour sales right to the back end, to the supply chain. How is it that integration is happening? That will enable everyone to ensure that they are forecasting on their raw material procurement. How is it that they're going to forecast accurately on capacity management? And then in a quick turnaround time, ensure that the right product and the right volumes are being delivered to the brand. So inventory is a critical part, and that management can happen by making sure that there's a huge amount of digitalization and of the data that is being done to give you the right insights on how much to order, when to order, and what are the trigger points behind that. From a time and action perspective, this is a critical piece. This is I know, and because I've done it myself a number of years. A number of times what happens is that we're just given an Excel which has got these 20 milestones, and my bosses in the past have told me, Mohit, this needs to be filled in every other day and you've got to do a update with me. And a number of times I used to feel that, what am I doing? I'm putting in a date on an activity, post the activities, of course. But the analysis coming out of it, where is the analysis for me to react in a way that will help me again make sure that I'm on top of the game. Yeah. So from a time and action perspective, it's a critical piece to make sure that you start digitizing it. This is no longer the simple sales to be filled in and a daily routine work to be done. This is something that should drive the sourcing organization of any brand to ensure that the right decisions are being taken and the right forecasting is being done, so that the sales, the brand front end brand teams are taking the right steps from an inventory perspective, from a sales target perspective, everything. So time and action is going to be far more integrated, and at Ace Turtle, what we do is we make sure that our time and actions are not just data entry points. These are data output points that deliver key actionables on everything that we intend to do.
All right, amazing. Yeah, I know at times the team comes and says that, we have become a data entry operator more than following up with suppliers. So I know that's a challenge of Excel, but I'm sure today you're getting an email on, hey, today is a day for lab dip and this is the day for processing it. That makes life simpler and really ensures that we really focus on technology rather than just doing a bit of what we are not supposed to do. Sure. After all these advantages, we still have not reached to the peak of digitalization and automation in sourcing. What do you think is the roadblock? I'm sure you touched upon culture, but is there anything beyond that is the problem today?
I think the penetration of tech in supply chain is absolutely abysmally low. So yes, culture is one thing, but the adoption rate is also again very, very low. And even if there's an adoption, it's more like a forced adoption because brands are saying they want to do this, and therefore the manufacturing community says that I have to adopt it if I have to work with a brand. So it's the mindset shift that will be delivered across all points on the supply chain and front end that clearly and visibly show the impact that's going to come through. So you will make sure that the impact of digitalization is giving you higher efficiencies in response times, in reaction times, in being more proactive, cutting down on your costs. So at Ace Turtle, we've taken some very simple steps. So we have QR codes for different types of activities, where all that a manufacturer has to do is that once that activity has been completed, you scan the QR code and it automatically gets uploaded into our system saying that the task has been completed. Likewise, we have high definition digital cameras that are installed in our mills and our factories. So why spend money on a runner or a courier company to send something for an approval? Just take a high definition, image of the product that you wish to approve, send it across. You've got high resolution, monitors in our office, and it's instant approval. So that is how we've got, and manufacturers are looking at, obviously these solutions because it's helping them cut down on their overheads, their efficiencies are improving, and brands have to start thinking like this as well to say how is it that you integrate tech in everything that you do.
Amazing. I think net, it's speed to market. It's about making our life simpler. I think digitalization automation is meant for that. Thank you so much, Mohit, for a wonderful insights, and it was too sharp and amazing to have you here, Mohit.
Thanks, Kirba. Thank you.
Yeah. We only have 2 minutes to go. I'm not sure whether Zoom is going to abruptly end the session, but 1 or 2 questions from the audience would be welcome. Before I answer this, before I get the panel members to answer this, thank you so much for coming in. DNA is just the beginning, and I'm sure a company like India who creates a lot of apps, and I'm sure sourcing fraternity adopting to the smarter technologies, I think it's not very far. And I thank BSL and AEPC to bring this together as a web series for audience to know about what's happening in the market. Yeah, thank you so much. If I have any questions, I could see a couple of questions on the chat window. Does Brandex always have an ROI worked on for this automation innovation? Suchira, if you could answer that, I think that is the time that we have to answer. And I think, thank you so much. Suchira, you want to answer this question?
Yeah, sure. So we always have an ROI for any automation or digitalization solution. We do, in principle, as a strategy, we always strive for automation and digitalization. We try to keep it close to our heart, but we will demand an ROI from the project managers always. So what we do is we do a pilot first, and then we understand what the return is, and before we do the rollout, we evaluate the ROI. In terms of what the ROI is, generally you will target a payback below 5 years. 5 years. Technology changes, that's one of the reasons. But most often we've seen, especially with regard to automation solutions, you will get a payback of around 1 year. So the payback will be very fast when it comes to automation. Digitization, as we all know, is a little bit tougher to get ROI on, but you'll aim for that below 5-year period.
Thank you. That was a quick question. Yeah, great. Thank you so much, people who has joined this. I think there's one more question from Jatin. Right. High definition camera or monitor, how are you solving a touch and feel issue, which is most brands would like to approve on a physical sample? So Mohit, I think this is a question for you. And yeah, I think there's an answer by Leela ji already. Fine. Do you want to touch upon this, Mohit?
Yeah, sure. So the idea here is that you reduce the lead time for an approval process. So thankfully, from a visual assessment, absolutely the product is being given the go-ahead. Therefore, this looks fine. But from a hand-feel perspective, you're right. That still is a critical part of everything that we do. So by the time the product reaches our factory or from the factory reaches us, we still have the time and opportunity to look at a hand-feel. And especially on denim that we do, it is an important piece. So we haven't removed that bit of the hand, the touch and feel of the product. I think that's an integral part as well. But that's how we're doing it. We're doing simultaneous processes without putting a complete hold on everything that the factory wants to move forward on.
Great. And I heard from one of the companies who were pitching for them, there is a score for a hand feel. And we know the scores. It's like a simple 1 to 10. If this is 1 and this is 10, what is the hand feel level? I'm sure we will be there. We can solve that very quickly. Thanks, Mohit, for that.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We are 2 minutes late on the session, but amazing session. Thank you so much, BSL and AEPC, to put things together. And great evening, all of you.
Thank you.